Hello everyone. I welcome all class 12 students in this session. In the last video, I have explained you about steps in the formation of recombinant DNA with the help of the restriction endonuclease enzyme. And today in this session, I would like to discuss how the separation and isolation of the recombinant DNA fragments is done. This is done by a technique called gel electrophoresis. Now, what is this gel electrophoresis? This is a technique for separating the DNA fragments based on their size. Firstly, a sample of DNA is cut into small fragments with the help of restriction endonucleases. Then, these small DNA fragments, which are negatively charged particles, they are separated by forcing them to move towards the anode under electric field through a medium of agarose gel matrix. The agarose gel matrix, generally they are the natural linear polymer of D-galactose and 3,6-N-hydro-L-galactose, which is extracted from the seaweeds. These are the natural polymer. The DNA fragments which are separate out based on their size, because the agarose, they have the sieving property. The agarose gel, they have the sieving property. The smaller fragment, they are farther on that gel plate. Later, the separated DNA fragments are visualized after staining with ethidium bromide, and then it is exposed to UV radiations. The DNA fragments are seen as orange color bands on that gel plate, and the separated bands of DNA are cut and extracted from the gel piece. This process is called elution. Then the purified DNA fragments, which used to form the rDNA, which can be joined for amplification to make more number of copies with the help of cloning. Now let us discuss the cloning vectors. This small piece of rDNA, with the help of certain vectors, they can be make more than hundreds of copies of this DNA. So, the cloning vectors, they are the DNA molecules that carry a foreign DNA segment into the host cell. Vectors may be of two types. First is the extracircular chromosomal DNA, which replicate autonomously, which is found in the bacterial cell. They are called plasmids. Another type of vectors, they are the bacteriophages. These are viruses which infect bacteria And these bacteriophages, because of their high number per cell, have very high copy number with bacterial cell. So the best known plasmid vector is PBR322 as the figure given in the NCERT book. It is the first artificial cloning vector developed in 1977 by Bolivar and Roderick from E. coli plasmids. Now, what are the features that are required to facilitate the cloning into a vector? First is the ori, origin of replication. In the figure we see that the ori is a DNA sequence that is responsible for initiating the replication. Any piece of DNA, when linked to this sequence, they can replicate within the host cells. Next is the selectable marker. Selectable marker helps to select the host cell which contain the vector and eliminate the non-transformants. Means the vector containing is the transformants and without it they are the non-transformants. So transformation, we can say that a piece of DNA which is introduced into the bacterial cell is the transformants. The genes encoding resistance to antibiotics like ampicillin or tetracycline, they are used as the best useful selectable markers for E. coli. The normal E. coli, they do not carry the resistant against these antibiotics. Next is the recognition sites or the cloning sites. To link any foreign DNA, the vectors required few recognition sites for the restriction enzymes, and it should be the singly present. More than one recognition sites within the vector can complicate the process and they may generate several fragments of DNA which are of no use. So ligation of foreign DNA which can be carried out at a restriction site present in one of the two antibiotic resistant genes. Now there are various types of plant vectors and animal vectors. In plants, the TI plasmids, the tumor inducing plasmids of Agrobacterium tumefaciens is used as cloning vector, as the Agrobacterium tumefaciens, they are the pathogen in various dicot plants. It delivers a piece of tDNA in the TI plasmids which transforms a normal plant cells into tumor cells to produce chemicals against pathogens. So these plants, when they are introduced, the TI plasmids can act as a biopesticides or biopest. They can kill the pest when these are introduced in the normal plant. In animals, the retrovirus, adenovirus, papillomavirus are also used as cloning vectors in the animals because they also have the ability to transform normal cells into cancerous cells. But they were first disarmed and then they are used to transfer desirable genes to the animal cells. So, the selection of recombinants formed can be done by two methods. One is the inactivation of antibiotics, and second method is the insertional inactivations. In antibiotic inactivations, if a foreign DNA ligates, suppose ligates at the BAMH1 sites of tetracycline resistant gene in the vector PBR322, these recombinant plasmids loses the tetracycline resistance due to the insertion of foreign DNA. It can still be selected out from non-recombinant by plating the transformants on ampicillin containing medium. What changes they will show? The transformants growing on ampicillin containing medium are transferred on to a medium containing tetracycline. The recombinants can grow in ampicillin containing medium but not on that containing tetracycline, whereas non-recombinant can grow on the medium containing both the antibiotics. Hence, the recombinants are selected in this way. Another method is the color production in the presence of chromogenic substrate. The recombinant and non-recombinant can be differentiated on the basis of the bacterial colonies which have been transformed by the plasmids. The bacterial colony having transformed plasmids shows no coloration, while those without inserted plasmids form blue color colonies. In this way, the rDNA can be selected out from the non-recombinant ones. So, thank you for this session.